Have you ever stopped to think about why some people manage to stay calm in situations where anyone else would explode? Like that guy who receives harsh criticism and just responds, "I understand," while you're already drafting a 3-paragraph text in your head? The difference isn't that they don't feel anything, it's that they learn to create a space between the feeling and the reaction, and that changes everything. AYANOKOJI is the extreme example of this. But before you think, but he's from anime, doesn't count. The techniques he uses are real. They're studied by various professionals and experts in the field, and you can apply them today. The real question is, how do you create that space? How do you feel anger, frustration, anxiety, and still not let it control what you do? Because if you don't learn this, you become a hostage. Anyone who knows how to push the right buttons controls you, and that's not freedom. AYANOKOJI was raised in an environment called the White Room, where showing emotion was considered a failure, literally. So he developed a complete system to manage it, not eliminate emotions, but manage them. And here's the important point. You don't need to go through what he went through to learn the system. You just need to understand how it works. Because in the end, emotional control isn't about becoming a robot. It's about you choosing when and how to react. Instead of reacting automatically, it's about having options when everyone else is on autopilot. In this video, you'll learn how to control your emotions like AYANOKOJI Kiyotaka. First thing you need to understand, you can't control what you don't recognize. Most people feel an emotion and already react, like a reflex. Someone cuts you off in traffic, you're already honking. Someone sends you a dry message, you're already imagining the worst scenarios. It's automatic. The first step is breaking that automatism, and the simplest tool for this? Writing it down. Seriously, grab pen and paper, or open the Notes app on your phone. When you feel a strong emotion, write down 3 things. 1. What was the exact situation? For example, my boss called me out in front of everyone. 2. What was the automatic thought that came up? Like, he's disrespecting me, or everyone now thinks I'm incompetent. 3. What was the emotion? Anger, shame, anxiety? Name it. Make that emotion more palpable, tangible. You can only change what you're aware exists. It seems too simple to work, but here's the magic. When you write, you force your brain to exit reactive mode and enter observer mode. You're literally activating the rational part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, while calming the emotional part, the amygdala. This is called thought record in cognitive behavioral psychology, and it works because you're creating distance between you and the emotion. You're not being the anger, you have anger. Seems like a detail, but this shift in perspective is huge. AYANOKOJI does this mentally, instantly. But you? Start by writing. Over time, it becomes automatic. Now, recognizing the emotion is just the beginning. The next step is where most people get stuck. After you've written down the situation, the thought, and the emotion, you need to interrogate that thought, like a lawyer interrogating a witness. Take that boss example. Your thought was, he's disrespecting me. Okay, now ask, is this a fact or an interpretation? Because the fact would be, he said X in front of people. Your interpretation of the fact is, he wanted to disrespect me. You're assuming intention, and assumption creates unnecessary emotion. Other useful questions are trying to understand, what's the real evidence this is true? Is there another way to see this situation? If my best friend went through this, what would I tell them? A month from now, will this still matter? It's not about invalidating what you feel. It's about testing whether what you're feeling is proportional to what actually happened. Because often we create a storm in a teacup just because we didn't stop to question the first thought that came up. This is called evidence examination in psychology, and it works because you're forcing your brain to exit the emotional narrative and enter the rational narrative. An exercise that helps a lot. Take a sheet and divide it into 2 columns. On one side, you write, evidence for my thought. On the other, evidence against my thought. You'll be surprised how most of the time the against column is bigger, but the emotional brain only showed you the for column. Okay, you've already recognized the emotion, already questioned the thought, but what about in the moment? When someone provokes you and you need to respond now? That's where the 3rd layer comes in. Here's the secret that changed the game for me. You don't need to act in the moment. Society teaches you that if you don't respond immediately, you're weak. But it's the opposite. Responding immediately is easy. Anyone does it. Waiting, processing, deciding consciously, that's strength. AYANOKOJI never reacts in the heat of the moment. Never. No matter what happens. He takes a step back, mentally or physically, and lets the initial emotion pass. Because he understands one simple thing. Emotions are waves. They rise, hit the peak, and come down. If you act at the peak, you're going to mess up. And you can do this too. When someone provokes you, instead of responding immediately, breathe. Literally. Breathe deep through your nose. nose. Hold for about 2 seconds. Release slowly through your mouth. Do this about 3 times. This isn't nonsense. It's a nervous system hack. When you breathe slowly, you slow down your heart. When you slow down your heart, you signal to the brain that it's not an emergency. And then the prefrontal cortex starts working again. There's even a name for this: physiological sigh. It's a deep breath, followed by another short breath still through the nose, and then you release everything slowly through your mouth. Scientists discovered this is the fastest way to calm the nervous system. It literally takes 5 seconds. You don't need to respond instantly just because the person is in front of you. Thinking about the question, reasoning and responding calmly isn't a sign of insecurity. On the contrary, a guy who does this a lot is Elon Musk. In several interviews, he takes a few seconds to think calmly about the question and formulate an answer in his head. Another technique: give yourself 10 minutes. Before responding to that message, before making that decision, wait 10 minutes. If it still makes sense after, do it. But you'll see that half the time you've already changed your mind. The emotion passed, and you're seeing things more clearly. Now, all this sounds nice in theory, but there's a problem. You won't be able to do this in a pressure situation if you've never trained before. Here's a mistake everyone makes: trying to apply emotional control only in difficult situations. It's like trying to lift 220 pounds without ever having touched a weight before. It doesn't work. You need to train when you're calm, when there's no pressure at all. Then when the pressure comes, you already have the muscle developed. How to train? Start with small things. Someone took too long to respond to your message? Instead of dwelling on it, write down the situation. This person didn't respond. What's the automatic thought that comes to my mind? Could they be ignoring me? What's the emotion this is making me feel? I'm feeling a slight anxiety. Done. You just trained. Practice in the mirror before presentations. Practice your posture when you're alone. Relax your jaw. Drop your shoulders. Keep your spine straight. Your body influences your mind as much as your mind influences your body. When you adopt a confident posture, even without feeling confidence, your brain receives the signal and starts producing the corresponding hormones. It's the famous fake it till you make it, but with a scientific basis. Because in the moment of pressure, you won't create new habits. You'll fall back on the habits you already have. So create the right habits now when it's easy. But look, before you leave here thinking emotional control is the solution to everything, I need to be honest about something. Emotional control isn't free. There's a cost. AYANOKOJI has total control, but he lost something in the process. He can't genuinely connect with people. For him, everything is strategy. Everything is calculation, and that's loneliness. It's living in a bubble where no one really knows you because you never show yourself. You don't want to get to that point. You don't want to be so controlled that you become cold. The goal isn't to not feel. It's to feel without being hijacked by the feeling. It's about you being able to get angry and still choose not to send that message. It's about feeling anxiety and still doing the presentation. It's about having fear and acting despite it. That's real control, not absence of emotion. It's managing it. It's you in command, not the emotion in command of you. Remember that the goal isn't to become a machine. It's to have choice. It's you deciding when it's worth reacting and when it's not. AYANOKOJI shows you that total control is possible, but real life teaches you that you need balance, not perfection. So take these tools, test them, adjust them to your context, and remember, you're not trying to not feel. You're learning not to be controlled by what you feel. And that changes everything. That's how you control your emotions like AYANOKOJI Kiyotaka.